Welcome to I Heart Geek. And welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. This is going to be a fun show.
Yeah.
So let me do this before I do the introduction. We are discussing the mad genius of Mel Brooks. If you are a Mel Brooks fan, you know what to expect. If you are not and you are easily offended, please turn
away now,
because I really don't want to hear it later. We will not do anything purposely offensive. However, we are discussing a man that made satire, fantastic satire out of everything that we hold holy in the new millennial generation.
I plan on doing accidentally offensive pretty much constantly. So
oh boy, this will be fun.
I'm going to do my best Madeline Kahn.
Oh, yes. Madeline Kahn in almost every
Mel Brooks movie. We'll have to have a Madeline Kahn off.
We will get into this in just a second. Okay, let me introduce everybody. I am Dub, and I'm your producer. To my top, I don't know what it is when you look at this screen, so we'll say Miss Geeky Page. How are you doing today, Courtney?
I'm good. I'm excited for this topic. I love Mel Brooks, so.
You got up early. You all got up early for it.
I'll try not to be offensive.
Well, some of us are naturally offensive. I'm not saying no names, but
that's why I said I'll
y'all
try.
Know who we are.
You mean everybody in this room?
Mm-hmm.
That would be it.
I was just going to say my mere presence is offensive, isn't it?
At least you can't smell us.
Let's introduce you, Mr. Winchester, because we haven't talked to you in a while. How you been, bud?
Hello, folks. I'm doing fantastic. How about you guys?
We're doing great. Good to see you on again.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on. I would not have. I was a little upset I didn't get asked for the Spaceballs one because I believe we have talked ad nauseum, you and Jason and I, about our never-ending love for Mel Brooks.
We will. Well, that's why I put you on the whole Mel Brooks show. I think it'd be better to be on the whole Mel Brooks show than just the Spaceballs show.
I'm glad
I appreciate it either way.
I'm glad you're here, Chris. The manly level always jumps 6 or 7 points on the manly-o-meter whenever you first show, and that's.
Do you guys need a room?
You make me blush. You make me blush. Thank you.
I can smell the testosterone from here.
The testosterone,
impressive.
The testosterone and the love. Okay, and sitting next to Mr. Winchester, we have Miss Satomi. How are you doing today?
Hey there, I'm doing just great. Really excited about today. I adore Mel Brooks. He actually reminds me a lot of my dad.
I would be friends with your dad.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would. Afterwards, I'll tell you some stories that most of which probably cannot be told on air. But I will say that he would leave messages in different voices, and one of his favorites was his version of Swedish Chef.
Oh boy,
nice.
Okay, and then finally we have Mr. PB and Jason. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing really good, but I don't think I'm finally. Am I finally? Yeah, I guess I am finally.
Yeah, you're the last.
You're the final. You are the final.
Last introduction, sir.
You are the finale.
Yeah, I'm good. Mel Brooks. I am a big fan of the Mel Brooks cinematic offerings of Mel Brooks are wonderful and transcend 40 years? 40 years.
I think more than that.
Yeah.
68 or
and we're older than that, so yeah.
So almost 50 years, and manages to, hit it freshly every time with something different. I mean, he's really good at not being formulaic. I mean, not repeating himself.
We'll get into that in a minute. We'll get into that one in a minute. There's a few jokes that repeat in every single movie.
Okay, little way, but in overall.
Because Walk This Way. I'm just saying that doesn't make a repeat.
And that's funny.
6 of the movies. Oh, yes. It's hilarious.
Kyle myself.
To me.
Sorry. It makes it in almost if Hitler's involved, he's hiling himself.
Yeah, a comedy callback. Yeah, but his original ideas though are
absolutely
outstanding.
So was anybody else, when you were researching this, surprised at how many movies there actually are? I knew he had a lot of movies, and just to see him in one place is just like awe-inspiring.
Well, also something that people often forget or don't even realize is all of the Brooks film stuff that he produced. Mm-hmm. So you're talking The Fly, My Favorite Year, The Elephant Man, I mean,
Such a good movie, by the way.
amazing. Anthony
I'm
Hopkins
not
and
an
John Hurt.
animal. Sorry.
Oh God.
Can't help
Yeah,
it.
that was one of my early, oh my God, I'm feeling things kind of show, kind of movie.
Does
So,
anybody
yeah.
know if he produced his son's stuff? The Albert Brooks, like This Is Your Life?
I don't believe so.
Didn't know
We
if
have-
anybody would know.
We can check. We
That's
have the
what the-
whole world
If
in the palm
only-
of our hands.
If only there was a piece of technology that existed that you could find out anything you wanted. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I
we're hoping
mean-
that might exist someday.
Yeah, I mean the best thing I can tell you is he probably didn't because Albert Brooks isn't his son.
Oh, I thought that was his son.
No,
No.
Oh,
Max
Max.
Brooks
Max
is his
Max Brooks
son.
is his son.
World War Z, amazing book.
Yeah.
And yeah, and,
Amazing book.
and his grandson does a bunch of Minecraft videos on that are entertaining on YouTube, by the
Mhm.
way.
His grandson, Albert Brooks?
No.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not gonna live that one down for the next hour or two.
Second cousin to his third aunt.
Twice removed.
Yeah.
But if you have to have a name to live off of, that's a pretty good one. That'll open a few doors for
Well, I mean, the one thing that baffled me, and this is random, I know, but I was always surprised. Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft
Yeah.
married for
Yeah. 2
That's a
or
weird-
3 years,
That's
I
weird.
think.
weirdest couple.
No,
but they
decades.
Just, decades.
Or no, I'm sorry, Anne Bancroft. Yeah, his first wife,
His-
Florence Baum.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
who
Yeah,
he was
like
only
she was
married to
with-
for a couple of years. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Well, Mel Brooks.
Well, how long was he married to Albert Brooks?
Okay.
But bumps.
No, Mel Brooks. He's the other producer that I know of. There's two that I can think of that always have the audacity to look like they look and cast themselves in the leading romantic role. Him and Woody Allen do that, and you're like,
Well,
yeah.
I think it's kind of wonderful because I think we have our concepts of beauty, and yes, it's always nice to look at somebody pretty up there.
He's not that pretty to look at.
I'm not gonna lie, but there's something that's wonderful about seeing an everyman and
Yeah.
seeing an
And it
every
gives
woman.
gives guys like me hope, that I
Well-
could be a lead role someday. If
Or
Mel could do it.
If you
women
write
who
your own
give
movie.
women like me
Or a
hope.
movie.
Right.
It's we all want to. One of the reasons we watch movies is because we want to be in. We want to see this
Yeah.
story as if we're living it, but through somebody else's eyes. So
Mhm.
sometimes it's nice to be the
An
pretty
escape.
girl, and sometimes it's nice to be, the
The
everyman.
character actor.
But
Yeah,
you do, as I said,
that
but you
still
do
wins.
understand why he did become a director so that he could cast himself. I think that's the only reason Woody Allen makes movies as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, in defense of Mel Brooks, is he doesn't do the same thing that Woody Allen does. Woody
Play the
Allen
same
casts
thing?
himself. Well, yeah, but I mean, when Mel Brooks casts himself, he's rarely the lead character. He relies on other people to be the lead character.
A lot
Or-
of the
He's
Or
not the
at least
lead.
multiple
He's not.
characters.
He's not the lead in Spaceballs. He's not the lead in Dracula. He's not the lead in Robin Hood. He's not the
History of the
lead in History of the World.
Sort of.
He's-
Yes and
He
no.
is
Yes
the
and no.
lead.
He's not the lead
He's not
in.
the lead
I think
in
he
History
is.
of
He's not the lead in the producers. He's not the lead in
Okay.
Blazing Saddles.
So
Uh,
just say it, Dub. You're wrong. It's okay. I get it.
But
No,
see,
I
this
mean,
is
But Woody Allen, I mean, in Woody Allen does do that. He
It's not
casts himself as
Bill,
the lead
yeah.
in everything.
think
this is
some
a
of-
good.
Go ahead.
Pardon me. Yeah, this is a good way to bring up, the fact that with Young Frankenstein, he only directed it.
Yeah.
Gene Wilder told him, "Hey, I will do Blazing Saddles, but you have to direct this for me because I don't want you in it." He just straight up said, "I do not want you in this."
But it's the
Yeah,
same cast
but I
of
want
characters
you-
that are in all of his movies.
Yeah, but I want you to
Yeah.
direct it, and then he helped punch up the script and everything else. But
Yeah.
I mean, but it was more, Gene Wilder just said, "I don't want the fourth wall broken. I want this to be semi kind of serious, and stick with what we're going to be doing."
Kendall
And
Back.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, let's discuss really what makes the work of Mel Brooks so timeless. As I said on the Spaceballs episode, I'm trying not to mention that too much, but you really don't know your kids till you sit them down and watch a Mel Brooks movie with them, and you know how smart or how funny they are and what their sense of humor is. That is like the litmus test for me. My kids, when they were laughing at Blazing Saddles uncontrollably, I'm like, okay, I raised good kids. But it's timeless because my dad will sit and laugh at Blazing Saddles. My grandfather would laugh at it. I would laugh at it. Maybe it's all for different reasons, but we all laugh at these movies a lot. What makes, I mean, every one of his movies are completely timeless, even if they're not.
Terrible?
No, I don't want to say terrible.
I won't say this in an argumentative fashion, but timeless is not the word that actually comes to me when I think of his movies. I actually think they're very dated, to be honest. But I think what makes them universally appreciated is that the comedy is incredibly easy to digest and incredibly easy to understand. I mean, he does not, in my opinion, work on really complex comedy levels. I mean, we were talking about Woody Allen. I'm not much of a Woody Allen fan overall. I mean, I know that all the critical acclaim that goes along with Woody Allen, but the nature of the Woody Allen comedy to me is kind of like, okay, yeah, whatever. That's almost every Woody Allen film I've seen. That's kind of been my impression. Okay, yeah, whatever. With Mel Brooks, he's dealing with things that are, he deals with the crass. He deals with sight gags. He deals with, play on words. He deals with a lot of things that people can gravitate to and easily identify as comedy. So I think that if you're going to use the word timeless or universal, it would be in his method, not so much his presentation. I think his presentation is very dated. I mean,
well, it may be dated, but it's timeless enough that the fact that any generation can grab onto it very easily.
Yeah. I can agree with that.
We can have a semantic argument. That's stupid. I mean, we're both saying the same thing on that. So I think a big thing that makes him so that everybody gets him is his satire and his ability to really tackle the most taboo of subjects harshly and make you laugh no matter what side you're on. And he's one of those, he says in his movies, there's the most offensive things in the world said. I mean, it's things that I'm pretty thick-skinned, and I'm like, wow, that's bad. You really shouldn't say that. And I'm really thick-skinned about all that stuff. However, everybody looks at Mel Brooks like, you don't mean anything by that. And that's really how I wish more people would look at movies in general.
It's because he makes fun of everybody.
Everybody.
Yes. Like everybody. Like nobody's safe from ridicule or abuse in a Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah.
Like the man is Jewish and makes thousands of Jewish jokes.
Lots of Hitler jokes.
Lots of Hitler jokes. And I mean, I think that's part of his universality that you guys were just saying. His universal charm is nobody's safe in a Mel Brooks movie. Everybody is going to get abused at some point in time. It's modern day vaudevillian humor is what it is.
Great way to put it.
So I mean, that's how I look at it.
there was an interview I listened to with him some years ago, and they brought up a great way of saying it. He does cultural equalizers, which are what his characters are. Is that he makes fun of everybody, but at the same time, he also lifts up everybody who, everybody's saying, "Oh, you're treading in this PC water and everything," but he actually lifts everybody up. He lifted up the black sheriff. The what was it where he smuggled out the makeup artist in Germany?
To Be or Not to Be?
I believe so. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but I mean, he lifts everybody. He lifts everybody up as well. Everybody is equal in his eyes, which is why you can make fun of them all, and why you can also lift them all up.
Yeah, comedy like that is amazing. That's like the kind of comedy that breaks down hatreds and things like that. That's what I say about the modern Chappelle, Dave Chappelle today. Owes a lot to people like Mel Brooks for being able to kind of open that door to everybody is fair game in comedy. And if we can all laugh at each other, we can all find things that we can understand about each other.
Well, and Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner wrote together for the Sid Caesar show.
Long time.
Yeah, and they wrote one of the most well-known. It's like right up there with Who's on First. It's the 2,000-Year-Old Man joke.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, like comedy writers to this day are still trying to emulate the 2,000-Year-Old Man joke
without success.
Without success, exactly. So I mean, there's the longevity. Just the longevity of Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner too, even though he just passed, that plays into it as well.
I completely agree with you. And one of the things when you listen to interviews with him and about him, he understood that at its heart, comedy is not PC.
Mm-hmm.
When
And
you watch any comedy and it makes you laugh, it's not PC. If it's PC, it's cute.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not, that's when it gets funny. And he
Needs
was
to be taboo.
it's
Mhm.
that surprise. And he said, and I unfortunately cannot remember who said it to him, but I think he was talking about Blazing Saddles beating up the old lady. um, and
We
he
all
was
just laughed.
yes, we did. And how not PC is that? And the advice that Mel Brooks got was, if you're gonna walk up to the bell, you gotta ring it. And
I
he
think
was
that
not
was
afraid of that.
Albert Brooks.
No, it wasn't. It
Uh-huh.
wasn't Albert Brooks. I think it was a producer. I'd have to look it up, but I don't believe it was. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be like voice of God. No, it was not Albert Brooks. But I was listening to something very recently, and I don't believe Albert Brooks actually ever came into the conversation.
I was kidding.
Oh, got you. Oh, well. So nice, Sean.
That's how
I
you
didn't
know the
you were
joke is
here.
dead, when people don't get it anymore. It's like,
Oh. See, not PC.
But
yeah. Now, here going on that PC thing. His grandson, who I talked about, that did does the Minecraft videos, he actually got in trouble at school for doing a very Mel Brooks type play that he wanted to put on, and I guess they had a fit, wanted to suspend him, all that other stuff. Mel Brooks went down to the school and chewed them out. I mean, how do you say, well, Mel Brooks, you've changed society forever. Your grandson wants to make stuff just like you. He's suspended. I mean, that's. But
I think it's a pendulum, because you know how every culture has different humor and different sense of humor. I mean, I remember when I was in college, they did a production of an Ethiopian comedy, and none of the Americans got it. And all of the Ethiopians in the audience were howling. So I think it's the same thing, honestly, with the PC pendulum.
Yeah.
There are certain things that should be taboo because they're just not funny.
Mm-hmm.
But
we've discussed that a lot.
Then again, that could change over time, because it's a pendulum swing. And I mean, right now, I think we're in a correction, which is why it's so severe. You know what I mean? Like, you hit a correction, and then everybody's going to be like, "No, you can't make it." And then we're going to relax, because that's human nature.
Yeah,
I sure hope so. We need to relax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Philosophicalizing.
I was a
Philosophizing.
artist. Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Winchester.
But no, I've always just measured it up to, I mean, can you just sit there and laugh about it? Well, it doesn't matter what the actual substance of any of the lines or anything that's going on. Can you laugh at it? What's funny about it? What I found funny, especially with Blazing Saddles, is one of the first times that we went underway in the Navy. We only had 3 movies that they could watch. Yeah, Blazing Saddles was one of them. And it didn't matter. All these different walks of life who were all surrounded with us. There was about 15 of us in there. Everybody grew up somewhere different. Black, white, Mexican, doesn't matter where it is. You can put on Blazing Saddles and everybody laughs because it's just funny. And they're, to me, that's just one of those, the PC is all driven by, not to make it political or whatever, but it's all driven by something else. I mean, if you can sit down and laugh, there's nothing wrong with it.
Go ahead, Courtney.
I was going to say, I think another thing is, especially with Blazing Saddles and just about any Mel Brooks movie, is you quote unquote shouldn't be laughing at it,
which makes it funnier. Yeah.
But because it's a Mel Brooks movie, you're given a pass to laugh at it.
Yeah.
So if that makes any sense, it's like, I should not be laughing at this Hitler joke.
But it's hilarious.
I should not be singing "Springtime for Hitler" while I'm working in the office.
But
because it's Mel Brooks, people are kind of like, that's just Mel Brooks.
Well, his humor isn't mean. That's the other thing. His humor is not mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's not nasty. It's just taking truths and all those little things you've thought of inside, like, how is it that cowboys can eat beans all the time
And not fart.
Greatest
and not
fart
fart
scene in history. Oh my
ever,
gosh.
ever, and it almost didn't end
Oh.
up in the movie, or at least
Mhm.
the studio tried to keep it from being in the
Mongo Pawn in Game of Life.
movie.
Well, one thing that Mel Brooks did, which is why he gets away with this, and if he could bottle it and tell you how he does it, he'd be richer than he already is. But the fact that you can tell his intent, there's never, he's saying horrible things, but there's never that cruel intent that,
Yep.
we watch a lot of movies that I'm like, oh, this just doesn't feel right. This is not good. It could be making the same joke, but the intent isn't right. And he knew how to say intent without, beating you over the head with it, I guess.
Because that's who he is.
Yeah.
I mean, he grew up in a New York
Oh, here we
Jewish
go.
household, and this is how they were. Because I'm telling you, my dad didn't talk like this. My dad was actually from Germany, and was a German Jew, actually. And yeah, and it's that same thing. Part of it is cultural.
Yeah.
That's just part of the culture.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's always that friendly ribbing. I mean, Jesus, we do it to each other, except for you, Dub, because when we say you're wrong, you're actually wrong.
You're wrong.
Never.
But
Wow.
it's always done with that little bit of love,
Yeah.
for
Very,
him.
very little bit of love.
Very well,
yes.
for Dub, it's very little.
Yes.
But yes, there's Brooks actually even talks about at the base loving yourself, and just this that everybody just needs to like love themselves, and he kisses himself before he goes to bed, and
Yeah.
which is also why he's a bit of a narcissist. But
Narcissism is a good thing. Stop it.
yeah, well, the thing is, I actually don't I don't think he is. I think
I think he
he's
is.
worked so much of his life to pull himself up, because he was
Yeah.
that awkward kid.
Yeah,
I mean, who
I agree.
not awkward looking, I should say, who found his salvation in comedy.
Yeah.
And I'm talking a lot. Somebody else take this.
He's
I
really
love him, and I think he's very deep.
he's really self-effacing in a bunch of his interviews too, if you ever watch him.
Yeah.
He doesn't, I mean, he knows he's funny. Like, that's the thing, is like, you can't work for Sid Caesar and not know that you were funny, because Sid Caesar didn't play.
Yeah.
But when it comes to his looks, or it comes to, because like I would see interviews where he would talk about being married to Anne Bancroft, and he would literally, every time, he's like, I don't know how I landed her. Because he could never understand. And but it's like they had one of the great loves that lasted forever, but he's like, I don't know.
Because there's a lot of power in comedy.
Yeah, so I mean,
as it relates to love.
Yeah. But he's always
the best aphrodisiac.
always
looks
yeah,
are
and
fleeting.
he's-
Looks are fleeting.
Except
Yeah.
for people do
They're
better.
instant and they're immediate. And they're the first thing. But the things that you hang on to, yeah, if you can make someone laugh, oh yeah, there you go. There's a keeper. For sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure he knew that, but whenever he would do interviews, he would just, he was always very self-effacing about what he would do.
Yeah.
He, whether it be with her or whether it be with his own success, he was always, I just make people laugh.
Well, if you're not willing to be the butt of the joke, it never works out well when you make jokes about other people. And I think that's a big part of the charm. Another big part of the charm, which I think this will be the last thing before we go on to the next thing, is the fact that, yes, they'd make fun of black guys in it, and somebody would move up because they were the best at what they did, and they moved up. And it wasn't like, well, everybody goes up because you're part of this class. No, it's just the best people from everywhere move up in his movies. And I think that's really an interesting, it's based on who you are as a person. He made people individuals. I think that's a kind of important thought with Mel Brooks when you're watching his stuff, and that's why it is funny.
Well,
okay. No, did you have something?
I just wanted to add on that real quick, because one thing with saying that is why I think a lot of his movies were successful as well, is because he also let all these geniuses that he employed on a regular basis just do their thing.
Yeah.
There's
That's
a
a
lot
good
of
point.
improv when it came to it. Madeline Kahn, he talked about how when she was singing the song in Blazing Saddles, and she just kind of started just like huffing and puffing. I mean, he's like I just let her go. She did that on her own. I let her go, and then when she falls off the chair and everything.
I'm tired.
Are you in show
So,
business? No, then get your friggin' feet up the stage.
But he talks about the line in History of the World when he's pouring the wine for her and says, "Tell me when." 8:30, and then it's that quick. It's that quick, and then it just like
down the line, and she's like, "No, yes, no, yes."
Oh my God, that
Very
yes,
impressive.
No, yes,
yes.
no,
You definitely have to have
You made some very big choices tonight.
You have to know where that line is if you're going to make that joke.
Yeah.
Just like with everything, and that's what he did.
And
actually,
go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just got excited because we were talking Madeline Kahn, and she's another one that we should probably do a show on because she was a genius.
I'll just talk about Mrs. White all day
She was.
long because that's the greatest character ever done.
Oh. But I love that when we're first introduced her and she comes out of the what are they called that the guys are holding? Oh, they're
in History of the World, the palm
Oh,
leaves.
in History of the World.
Yeah,
the little chair that they were carrying.
Okay,
her in,
yeah. The
Yeah.
throne.
She's like, "Stop!" I can't say it here, but I mean, one of her first
exactly
lines
what you're gonna
is
say.
one of the funniest moments in
Her
movie
voice
history.
was so cool.
Period.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, this is gonna be about to become a Madeline Kahn thing.
Right.
We're gonna move on, and we got a real quick commercial break.
Hello, our geek rock stars. I'm Satomi Hoffman with I Heart Geek, and we heart you. And I'm going to tell you about a way that you can heart us back. So here's the deal. I Heart Geek has just launched our Patreon page. This is a chance for you to help us with production costs and help us keep bringing these podcasts to you. Not a lot of people know it. We don't make any money making this podcast, but we do it because we heart geek, we heart bringing it to you, and we heart obsessing over the things that you heart. So how do you become involved? Super simple. There are 4 tiers of support. The first tier of support is only $3 a month, about the price of a cup of coffee if you don't go to Starbucks. And we will love you like we love Baby Yoda, except for Blythe, who doesn't feel the Baby Yoda love, which... So now tier 2 is $5 a month, which now we're talking like a drip coffee and a cookie. And for that, we'll display your name during the show and also put you in the end credits. Name recognition, y'all. Now tier 3, $10 a month. Now we're getting into the nitty gritty. We will actually take your suggestions and we will put them in the rotation of the show. So whatever you obsess about, which we already probably obsess about, we will obsess about on air. All right, now we're talking tier 4. We're talking the Triforce Excalibur Infinity Gauntlet level of subscription. $20 a month will get you as a regular rotational cast member on the show. We'll have you come on. We'll discuss the things that you heart, the things that we heart. We'll argue, we'll laugh, we'll have a great time. And you will have made I Heart Geek better for your subscription. And of course, you can tell all your friends, hey, haha, I'm on a podcast. So there you have it. 4 easy ways to help I Heart Geek become a listener-supported podcast, and you get something in return. We heart you, we thank you, we heart geek, and remember to keep on geeking on.
Okay, so thank you for the commercial, Satomi. It's like you bounce back and forth. It's
her superpower.
It is my superpower.
And just so everyone is aware, there is a second commercial coming. So yeah, we won't get so burned out on just the one. And
I could never get burned out on that first commercial.
This is the perfect time actually to say this. If you would like to keep us from not having a bunch of random commercials every single episode, give to the Patreon. We have some opportunities to get some advertising. We don't want to, but I think we're going to need to if we don't get some Patreon supporters. We have a couple already, and we really appreciate it. But
also, like and subscribe.
Share this with your friends. Especially this episode because it'll offend everybody, and that's fun.
We're trying real hard, though. We're doing good. We're doing
good. I think
we're walking that line. We're good. So let's our first memories of when we fell in love with who Mel Brooks is. I mean, we may have seen the movies, but as far as we got that connection, this is what he does, and I don't think that's necessarily your first movie. This is when you realize you're in on the joke. That's my personal opinion on it. So, what about you guys? Let's start with Courtney, what was your first fell in love with Mel Brooks moment?
Young Frankenstein.
Why?
Because I was, we've talked about this in other shows. I love those old classic horror movies, Frankenstein, whatnot. And then this one just went and made fun of it all. And I loved it. Plus, like, Terry Garr singing Rollin' the Hay and, puts the candle back, and I mean, Frau Bruche. I mean, it was it took that classic
Marty
horror
Feldman.
genre. Marty Feldman, oh my God, who looked like a Muppet in real life.
Walk this way.
But it took that horror, that classic horror genre, which for the most part was kind of revered up until that point. If you don't look at, say, like Abbott Costello Meet Frankenstein and those kinds of things, they were kind of those movie monsters were kind of revered. And Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder said, "What if we just made fun of the whole thing?"
Yeah.
And just ran with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Gene Hackman is the blind beggar in the forest.
Yeah.
Peter Boyle is the creature.
It just hits you. Is it the stars or is it just the moment?
Well, you can't. Because I saw it when I was a kid, so I didn't know who these. I knew who Gene Wilder was because of
Stir Crazy.
Willy Wonka. No, that was Willy
Wonka.
Willy
Wonka. Willy Wonka.
That was Willy Wonka.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's also it was probably, I was a kid. I was probably about 10 or 11 when I saw it, so I didn't understand a lot of it, but I understood like the references, like the Bride of Frankenstein hair, or But then you throw in that Putting on the Ritz number.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna make any 10, 11-year-old crack up when there's a big guy going, no, 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 no. I mean, it's funny.
It's hilarious.
So that was my thing.
the subtle little, drop the flower down there and blow it a kiss goodbye. Well, what do you want to do next? And then just breaking the fourth wall of just, looking, about throwing the kid down the well. Just subtle little things like that.
Yeah, that wasn't real subtle,
brilliant.
Let's be honest. Mr. Winchester, let's go with yours. When did you fall in love with who Mel Brooks was?
Well, my father, huge Mel Brooks fan. I mean, 6'6", everything that he did. He's
sorry, I couldn't help it. I'm done.
Yeah.
Bad joke. Bad joke.
Huge,
Bad dub.
huge Mel Brooks fan. So I recall we watched Star Wars kind of early, and then we actually saw Robin Hood Men in Tights in the theater. From the two of those, I think what I loved about it most, and to this day I'm still just pathetic in, is the quotable lines.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than the two of them with, the quotable lines.
Yeah.
Men in Tights,
which is a great Mel Brooks.
John. Yeah, they call me Little John, but don't worry, in real life, very big. It's stuff like that. It's the quotable lines that just made me fall in love with it. And then as you get older, you start to realize all the little subtle jokes that he has in it, and then what he was achieving with the satire of it all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
I love,
where I
what
love
is it? Thinking, I think no one's coming.
Thinking.
Well, to jump dogpile on this just for a second, I think is an interesting thing, is you can get it at a very base level as a kid, and then as you get older, you start getting deeper. And I just sat and rewatched most of Mel Brooks movies in the last 2 weeks because we were doing the show, and I'm still getting stuff that's deeper than I realized it. When I was 30, when I was 20, it's really that to write like that is. I want to see what his brain looks like, because that's it's different.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking earlier about what makes him tick and what makes him funny, and I think it's because he says out loud all of the things we think.
All the quiet parts.
Yeah.
All of the quiet parts, and the quiet parts include that 5-year-old inside, and then they include that whatever age, that 45-year-old inside. So that's why as you get older, you see different stuff and you get different jokes because it's all in there. It's just it's like his stream of consciousness out loud.
Nice. PB, what's your moment?
A lot of what has already been said, which is very, very good, very cool. I saw Young Frankenstein first, but I was a kid, so none of the nuances were really stuck till later when I saw it. But the movie there were two movies, and I can't remember which one I saw first, where I was like, should I be watching this? Is this bad for me to be watching this? And it was Airplane and History of the World Part 2. I don't remember which one I saw first, but I remember, History of the World Part 1. And I remember both those movies, but especially in History of the World, watching that with my dad and kind of like side-eyeing my dad, being like, I get in trouble if I said half these things or emulated half these things. But here we are watching this together, and it's funny, and you're laughing, and I'm laughing, but I'm like, this is naughty. And one of the universal appeals of Mel Brooks is for that span of time you're watching his film, you could safely indulge in that very naughty, thinking in among friends and family, and it's a good, safe situation to do that in. But yeah, it was when the stuff in History of the World, that the offensive things in History of the World were showing up on screen.
There's offensive things in that?
Yeah, I was seriously,
I must have missed it.
I'd side-eyed my dad every time, like, are you just going to smack me because
Go
I'm
away,
here
you can't
and
watch
watching
this?
this? Yeah, you can. No, he didn't send me away. It was really cool.
No, yeah, Courtney put it perfectly earlier. Just, half the fun was watching her father laugh minutes before any of those jokes were even come on the screen. It was just awesome.
Yeah, and going back to the multi-generational thing, that is, that is what makes it so, whatever word we want to use, but it makes it so entertaining for everybody, because you're laughing with your dad. It may be for a different reason, but you are totally get it together, and it's that moment that you can't get anywhere else. That's why I love Mel Brooks. So tell me, what about you?
I had a very similar experience with PB. I think my first exposure to Mel Brooks was definitely the farting scene from Blazing Saddles.
That is funny.
But what really...
Say you had enough already.
But yeah, I would say the strongest early influence when I realized I actually thought it was funny and was laughing at all the right places was History of the World Part 1. And we had, early subscription channel. And so I would watch it over and over and over again. And and of course there were jokes in it, like the yes, no, yes segment where I was laughing because I knew the music that she was singing it to.
It's very comical music.
Yeah, well, it's. I mean, everybody knows it. You just don't realize it. It's the bum 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 da 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 da. So it's a piece that people know, and so that's what made me giggle. And then of course I got older and was like, oh my gosh, there was a whole other layer to it. And so I probably watched it with my dad a couple of times as well, which is probably why my humor, my sense of humor is greatly influenced by Mel Brooks, because I'm always the first one to take it to 11, to cross the line, and then everybody howls with laughter, except for every once in a while they're like, you went too far, and I'm like, I know, I just thought it was funny in the moment, and after
I get that
it was bad.
I get that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump over to our listener feedback, because we have some really good stuff today.
And now, let's see what all of our geek rock stars have to say.
So for our listener feedback today, we asked people, what is your favorite Mel Brooks movie or moment? And we had so much, so much, just lots and lots of it. Go ahead, Courtney, tell us about all the stuff that you cut. And it's her fault. She picked who didn't go.
It's my fault. So we'll always put the disclaimer in. First off, thank you guys for all of your listener feedback. We really, really appreciate it. You guys had a lot of great comments. There's too much for me to read all of your stuff, so if I don't read yours, I'm sorry, but keep commenting because maybe you'll make it on next time. And if you're angry that I cut it, you can blame me, but even though it's really Dub's
She won't
fault.
care, by the way, just so
Dub's
you know,
fault.
at all. And I won't care either.
So Sandra Huntsman says that she has to go with Robin Hood Men in Tights because the Kevin Costner Robin Hood Tights was her favorite before that, and so she actually got a lot of the jokes in the Robin Hood Men in Tights. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's not high on the list, but it was also her first introduction to satire, and she absolutely loved it. It's one of my favorites too, Sandra, so you're good company.
Yep.
Wendy Robertson May says, I can't pick one movie. There are so many great movies and lines to choose from. One of her favorite lines is, it's good to be the king.
Oh, yes.
I think it's probably a lot of people's favorites by Spency. And another one is used a lot is the walk this way joke that we mentioned earlier on in the episode. Blazing Saddles also has her in tears laughing every single time, and she just loves all of his comedic works. So Anita B. and Sandy said it was hard to pick. Everybody seemed to say that it was hard to pick their favorites, and I think we can all concur on the panel here. It's hard to pick, but because she loves Mel Brooks, but she has a special affection for Young Frankenstein, which is a great homage to the old black and white horror movies with plenty of innuendo and love, and it's funny as hell. Barbie Collins says that it is Robin Hood Men in Tights. Because she must have seen it a dozen times in theaters and tried to learn all the songs and all the choreography. She's a dancer, if anybody's curious about that.
Also, that song, Marion, happens to be quite beautiful.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's a beautiful song. It's well written.
Yeah, it's so beautiful they crash into the wall.
Yep. So Daniel Houston says, Spaceballs the movie. Could you, re-air the Spaceballs podcast and use that as my response? Please. Fine. If I had to choose a scene, he said he would be picking the picking through the desert, the combing through the desert scene. Why, you ask? Because it's the perfect example of hilarious comedic timing in his opinion, and may the Schwartz be with us.
May the Schwartz be with you.
May the Schwartz be with it. And I'm going to say Paul Fry for our last one, Paul Fry. 2 best lines, Spaceballs. I'm Barf, half man, half dog. I'm my own best friend.
Yes.
And Blazing Saddles. Hey, where do white women at? Honorable mention. I had to try to say it like Cleavon Little. I had to.
Nothing like hearing a white chick say that. That's just beautiful.
Well, and I literally can't say it as well as Cleavon Little, but I also can't say it ever without saying it like Cleavon Little. Right. So, and then his final one was History of the World Part 1. Everything's so green. So we thank you all very, very much for all of your wonderful feedback.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. We totally appreciate it. Go ahead.
You guys know the Walk This Way connection to the Aerosmith song, right? That they are actually connected.
Are they?
Yeah,
I'm going to ask that as a joke.
Yeah, Aerosmith wrote the tune, and they were waiting on Steven Tyler to come up with the lyrics, but he was so drugged out and delaying, and then
because everything was so green,
right? And then
white,
and then I believe it was they went to the theater and they saw Young Frankenstein, and they thought it was so funny and Walk This Way. So when he came back, he was then inspired by Walk This Way to put that rap together and call it Walk This Way.
Now I'm picturing Marty Feldman singing that tune, which is amazing.
I
wish you were in my head right now.
I would pay money to see that. If anybody's friends with Marty Feldman, I guess. I guess. Okay, so let's move on to our very different event.
Now it's time for the main event.
Okay, so for this main event, we're not doing our typical top 5 thing. We just picked some of our favorite Mel Brooks movies.
Well, okay,
then discuss them.
Throw it out. Toss it away.
Yeah. No, I sent you the script in advance. I don't think that worked. It does. Okay.
Oh, so throw my phone out the window, right?
Yeah, that's what you need to
Pay
do.
no
Do that
attention
right
to
now.
that man behind the curtain.
Okay, so let's start with high anxiety, actually.
High anxiety. Sorry.
One thing I got to say about that is, I mean, it's the homage to Hitchcock, and I love that he wrote that in the credits, dedicated to the master of all suspense, Alfred Hitchcock. I thought that was a really class act.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite thing, though, tell me he does not feel like Frank Sinatra when he does this song.
Well, I'm sure he was doing a send up.
Yeah.
Of all of those Rat Pack guys.
But I didn't know he could sing like that. I mean, I was really impressed.
Oh yeah.
He's
I mean, he
a
started
great
out on the
singer.
he started out on the Borscht Belt.
Yeah.
You know, doing all that stuff. He's been an entertainer coming out of the womb. I think he was playing accordion by the time he was 3. So, and he's Jewish. We all sing.
Oh, the stereotype there. No, my favorite line in this that really makes the movie more than anything else is the I got it, I got it, I got it, I don't got it.
I don't got it.
It's just such a classic line. Does anybody else like relate to high anxiety? I never watched it before this week, honestly, though.
You know, it was shot in San Francisco. All those hotel shots were at the Hyatt down. I think it's Embarcadero. And I grew up in the Bay Area, so that was such a tie-in for me to be like, it's like seeing somebody you know in a movie, but instead it was, that's the Hyatt, that's the Hyatt. So
that's what it's like living in Vegas.
Yes. I bet.
Okay, let's move to
Could I just throw something in there? I was just going to throw in my little 2 cents for a little research thing, but high anxiety budget was $4 million. It grossed $31 million in 1977.
Oh,
so
yeah,
he's just gold, man. Film gold.
Oh, I got a great one for later. 74. Right. Yeah, later.
Going back to what Jason was saying earlier, with them being dated, this movie is, if you're going strictly by, you know, what's going on in the background and everything else, this movie is incredibly dated. But again, it feels, if you can enjoy a Hitchcock movie, which most people can, you can enjoy this. But you're right on that. That is, it would be very dated, I think. But
he does this a lot in his parody. Like some parodies are kind of insulting, but he never did that. His parodies are very, very much homage, you know, flattery. You know, because I mean, you got some of the things he chose to parody, Star Wars, you know, Hitchcock. I mean, these are institutions, and he parodied them in such a flattering way that it's, you know, totally worthy of the accolades and praise that he gets because of the care, and as it was said, he's not mean.
Yeah,
you know, his it's not mean spirited.
It's clear he loves them.
Yes. Yeah. That's part of his.
You can't do good satire if you didn't love the original material. You have to love it before you can make fun of it. Okay, now this one is a movie that I've heard about for years and a play that I've heard about for years. I've never had the opportunity to watch it just for whatever reason, and that is The Producers.
Oh my God.
I'm very familiar with it. You guys can go ahead for a minute because I know everybody is in love with this movie. And
the original movie is fantastic and the musical is fantastic.
Yeah.
Springtime for Hitler?
Springtime for Hitler and Germany.
I think we just got demonetized. Awesome.
Actually, a buddy of mine who I worked with at Disney many years ago is the young Nazi soldier who sings that in the newer film. And then, of course, I have friends who were the dancing. I'm going
John Barrowman.
Quote tap dancing. Oh, I'm so sorry. He did it in the Broadway show. I'm so sorry. You're right. John Barrowman.
John Barrowman in the movie.
John Barrowman. That's right. John Barrowman of Doctor Who and Torchwood fame, who was fantastic.
And Arrow.
My brain was making substitutions there. And then, of course, you know, just being in New York, you know, like tons of young, beautiful dancers who were those little biddies with the walkers doing the tap dancing, and it's genius.
Yeah, I love both the Producers, the original and the remake from the musical. that he produced. He produced the Matthew Broderick, Nathan Lane one.
Produced the
and
producers.
Yeah, he produced the producers. Yes, they're both awesome. So fun and funny.
And also earned all of his first awards too. Pardon me. He won the Academy Award for the best story and screenplay. He was inducted into the National Film Registry for that one, and then he also won the Writers Guild of America for best written original screenplay.
Yeah,
and I think that's what got him his EGOT actually.
Yes.
I think the musical version is what got his EGOT. And EGOT is, for the listeners who don't know, EGOT is, very few people have this, but it's if you've earned an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony.
Tony, yeah.
And
so
there's
it's like a Grand Slam.
Yeah, so if you're an EGOT, so like people like John Legend is an EGOT. Barbara Streisand's an EGOT.
People, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, like Rita Moreno. I mean, there's very few. Like
very prestigious.
When Lin-Manuel Miranda was up for an Oscar for the songs for Moana, if he had won, he would have gotten an EGOT. So
he still has another chance, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard. It's not. It's kind of hard to get. And so I think, and I could be wrong, but I believe the producers, the musical, is what got him his EGOT, because he got a Tony for it for best musical that year.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, when I read that earlier, it was for the musical one when he got the Tony, and I think he ended up getting like 3 Tonys or something out of that.
Yeah, there were quite a few.
It broke that show broke the record.
Yeah,
I think they got 13 Tonys.
I think so. 11 or 13. Yeah, it was the most. It was at the time, I believe.
Don't quote me on it.
So
Look it up. You also have your
also costs under $1 million to even make that. The original producers like $940,000.
Well, at the time, that was a lot more money than that is now. But
no, but they actually don't have like what the box office numbers actually did. They only had rentals, which accumulated a 1.6 million. So they actually don't have like box office numbers for it.
It's another one that gave us a quotes that we use to this very day. If you got it, flaunt it, baby. Flaunt it.
So very, very quickly, we'll go on to the next movie in a second, but because I haven't seen it, can somebody give me the very quick elevator presentation? Why should I watch The Producers?
Mel Brooks.
That's an easy one. Yeah.
Springtime for Hitler.
So that's just the music and the general vibe. Say, I'm gonna watch it. It's not. I get it.
It's funny because what they're trying to do is they're trying to scam Broadway, and it doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, if you like the con man comedy thing, like the Some Like It Hot or any of those kind of con man comedy type things, it's that, and it's perfect.
Very good. Okay, let's go to a movie that we've talked about a bit, History of the World Part 1. Are we going to see a History of the World Part 2? I sure do hope so.
No.
And how many of us did watch that as a kid and waiting for it?
It was a complete joke. He just did all that as just a complete joke, but then
Hitler in space. I don't think you can make that movie.
2012 or something.
If anybody
like
could,
that,
it would
an
be
interview.
him.
Yeah, like 2012, some interview. He said, "You know what? There's probably a lot of money in this. Maybe I should take a look into it." But I mean, it always just kind of basically started as like a joke.
Yeah.
So, and for my 2 cents, that's my favorite Mel Brooks movie is History of the World. There's so much in there. The Rook jumps Queen, Knight jumps Queen.
Oh, that was so
good.
Yeah. So
Everyone jump the Queen. Yeah.
All the dialogue is just fantastic in that movie.
And also, I was always from Carol Burnett show, a huge fan of Harvey Korman. Having Harvey Korman be in that, you look.
He's
like
in a lot of Mel Brooks.
Yes,
like
Jason. Yeah.
I wasn't going to continue with that because I can't.
In Count de Monet. So
I love this. I love when people are quoting movies because that means you actually love them, and that's. I say I like quotable movies, and this is
all the quotes I love from History of the World. I can't say on this.
Can't say. Nope. Yeah. Can't say them.
That is
that is very true.
Like
not a one. Right.
Yeah. Nay.
Okay, let's go with.
Do you want the money for that one?
Yes. Give us the Count de Monet.
Show me the money. The Monet.
Budget was $10 million. Box office was 31.7.
Wow.
So one of his bigger ones when it came to the actual like budget at that time. up until like Spaceballs and Life Stinks, that was like the biggest budget that he had for all of them. But yeah, earned 31, and then unfortunately, I don't like Rotten Tomatoes and their things. They give it a 62% rating. They can
suck an egg.
It
They
was
can suck a Yoda egg.
It was considered a flop,
yeah, it
to
was.
be honest.
Yeah.
Well, I wish that my flops were that,
Right.
Profitable.
inspired by
In some
inspiring
ways,
billions of people around the world.
in some ways, it's the only one of his movies that I think skirts the edge of being a little bit mean-spirited. Just a tiny bit. I don't think it's like overtly so, but where we've talked about all the love in his films before, there's some bite in that movie for sure.
Yeah.
That,
The Last Supper.
Yeah.
Somebody will betray me tonight. Judas, you want the wine?
Right.
It's just, yeah.
The feather
Definitely.
duster, yeah.
And so maybe it was because people had kind of what to expect from him, and then there was this one. Again, I think that's kind of the crassest of his films.
I can see that.
That's probably why I liked it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure, of course. But I think maybe it wasn't kind of like The Meaning of Life from Monty Python. Monty Python gave you what it gave you, and then it gave you Meaning of Life, and that one was really dark comparatively.
Yeah.
And maybe it had that kind of similarity.
Also, the subject matter was dark.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, yes, History of the
The
World
Inquisition.
bops around, but they're dealing with the Inquisition.
The
they're dealing with the
Inquisition.
crucifixion.
What
What a
is
show.
So
Jesus. What?
let's hit the what I would consider,
Yes.
along with History of the World, the Mount Rushmore of Mel Brooks movies, which one of them would be History of the World. The other three would be Spaceballs, Young Frankenstein, and Blazing Saddles. Anybody disagree with that? That those are kind of those are the tent poles for Mel Brooks?
Without a
No,
doubt.
I wouldn't. No.
I mean, I think it's sort of a dodecahedron of tent poles for him because
That was
there
a
are.
big word.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
That
can't
was
even.
an awesome
I can't even
word.
repeat that.
I think I
Wow.
just broke somebody.
Yep.
But there's just so yes, those are the ones that people would know. But then there's Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yeah, Robin Hood Men in Tights I would definitely throw up there too.
That brought a newer
enough.
audience to
Yeah,
it.
a new generation into it.
Well, I mean, like we said beforehand, I know a few people said they haven't seen it, but Life Stinks. I've always been a big fan of that movie because it's
That's the
actually
only
one of
one I haven't seen.
the very few movies that he does where there's absolutely no parody in it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
He also does. He never breaks the fourth wall in it either. But
Mm.
there was some good little lines in there. The whole thing about calling him Pepto. Little arguments that he had as being like a bum on the street. But I mean, this was also like pretty dark, like what they, some of the material they were doing in there, and then turning it into a comedy, turning it into a love story type deal. But I've always been a big fan of Life Stinks. I mean,
Yeah.
I like that
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah, I have to see that one. That is the only
Yeah,
one I have not seen.
it's good. It's got a lot of good in it, I think. But definitely, other than Dracula, his biggest flop.
Yeah,
I
Dracula's
wish I
bad.
liked it.
Yeah,
Dracula was bad. It should have been good.
because it had Leslie Nielsen in it. It should have been.
And he
It
was
should have been
He was
good.
definitely on the down cycle at that point.
Yeah.
Leslie Nielsen is brilliant, but I think he was definitely
yeah.
at the end of his creative.
I would even argue to say it's not even Leslie Nielsen's fault. It's just not a very good written.
No.
It's
No,
not funny.
There wasn't anything funny.
It's
in
not
it,
funny.
really.
And I mean, I think the thing is maybe it's because making fun of Dracula films has been happening far longer than Mel Brooks got into the game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
With things like Once Bitten,
Oh my God, with
A
Cleavon
vamp-
Little.
yeah,
Yeah.
Twilight.
well, that brings us to the, but it's like they've been making fun of Dracula movies
Mm-hmm.
and they're ridiculous. Fright Night. I mean, you got a
Yeah.
Dracula named Jerry. Your vampire's name is Jerry. So
Yeah.
I mean, it was not his best foray
He does best
into
when
comedy.
he does
at
his
that point in
best on
time.
satire when he's first.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
that's why Robin Hood worked Not only did Robin Hood work because of that, but because it was also coming on the heels of that really terrible, sorry everybody, that really terrible Kevin Costner movie.
It wasn't that bad. Shut up.
I'm a huge Robin Hood fan, so I
like that movie to this day, and I stand by it.
Well, you're wrong.
Yeah, I don't know why Christian Slater was in that movie. He
was one of the parts I enjoyed, but I was also
really?
Well, I was also a teenage girl at the time, and he was pretty cute.
That's true.
So, but I'm a huge Robin Hood fan. Like we all listeners know this, but he was able to take a lot of what was wrong in the Kevin Costner movie and just make fun of it.
Well, he summed it up perfectly in his one line. Unlike other Robin Hoods,
I can speak with an
English accent.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so that's what I think part of the success of Robin Hood Men in Tights was that it just made fun of the badness of the Kevin Costner movie. So it came at the right time.
Yeah.
By the time he did Dracula and Dead and Loving It, we were a good 5-6 years away from Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is what he was trying to lampoon. And it just didn't work.
I love that movie so much, too.
Men in Tights, despite the fact that Robin Hood wasn't a fox and Little John wasn't a bear and Cowardly Lion, yes, Men in Tights was still a very good.
I will give you that one. I actually love that version.
That's the best, with the exception of the Errol Flynn version. It's the best Robin Hood.
Yes, it is.
It's ever been.
Kind of fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
We're not talking
no. Please continue.
Oh no, finish what you got to say. We're about to wrap up. So.
We're going to move on to. Were we going to talk about Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles at all, or?
Yeah, we got to cut it up real fast though. Go ahead.
So, no, because the fact that both of them came out in 1974 was a huge thing, and the two of them are the number 2 and number 3 highest grossing films of 1974. Does anybody know the highest grossing film of 1974 that beat out those two? The Towering Inferno.
Inferno. Wow.
Yeah. That was the number 1 grossing film, and then you have Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein, between the two, cost only $5.4 million to make. They grossed in 1974 $205 million.
Wow.
Adjusted to inflation in 2020, that is $1,140,252,597 is what he made in 1974 alone, just by those two movies.
Nice.
Well, he didn't make it personally, but yes.
Well, yeah. A good cut, I would imagine, came to him, and he was set for the rest of his career as far as needing money, or at least showing all these different companies. Yeah. So
after that, he can make whatever he wanted, even Dracula movies.
Yes.
What's interesting is sometimes that's not good for a director or a writer when they can do whatever they want. Case in point, Susan Stroman, who's brilliant, but she needs somebody to stop her. And
she needs to stick with Broadway, because she doesn't understand how
even
to frame
on Broadway,
stuff on film.
Even on Broadway, we'll have a whole discussion at some point.
You and I will talk about that.
Oh my God!
That actually, are you talking about Spider-Man? Turn off the dark.
Turn off the dark.
That's Julie Taymor.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. That's Julie
no.
Taymor. Sorry.
We'll talk later.
My brain is not working today. Wow. Thank God you're here, Courtney.
And my font of useless Broadway novel.
Don't listen to me today. Don't listen to me today.
So Toby and I are having our own little conversation.
Yeah, they're going to go in their own private room at the end of this one.
It's cool to watch. I'm enjoying it.
They do a breakout room.
So that was a show. I definitely want to cut this off for a second because quick announcement. Jason is going to be stepping back for a little while. And I'm not firing him right now. We had this discussion already. I just want to, from the heart, you have been such an amazing part of the show, and I know you're not leaving, so it's not like this isn't goodbye, but you're going to be kind of stepping back a little bit, and I just appreciate everything you've done for the show. And yeah, we love you.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. In the going on near 4 years that I believe we're heading toward, and I was here from day zero. Doing this. I watched this, this little flower, the seed become a flower, and it's been the best thing that I got out of doing this was the people that I got to meet. 4 of the I knew Doug, but the 3 of them here, Courtney, Satomi, Chris, and several other people that mean a whole lot to me that I consider true friends. Yeah, that's the best thing that I got out of my time as part of this show. So yeah, I imagine I'll pop in every now and then. So we'll see.
Yeah, this isn't goodbye by any stretch of the imagination. This is just
I'll still be in the community.
Less, yeah.
Posting things, definitely.
So I just really want to say, I appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you
a lot. So
thank you very much.
Real quick, Satomi, you want to tell us about our favorite charity?
I'm going to tell you about BroadwayHearts.org. Our listeners know a lot about it. We're a wonderful group of Broadway performers that bring music to kids and families in hospitals. So if you want to support us or check us out or turn us on to a hospital that would like to have us as guests, drop us a line. Let us know.
Outstanding. And yeah, go to www.patreon.com and go to iHeartGeek and keep us commercial free.
Thank you.
Yeah, until next time, I am Dub. I'm here with Courtney, Satomi, Mr. Winchester, and Mr. PB and Jason. Keep on geeking on, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Keep on geeking on.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.